Let me do the introduction. We have Reena Devi here. She is a critic and art journalist for different art media, including Kobo Soso, Art Newspaper, and Art Asia Pacific. And we have Scott Fuzion here. He is the founder of NUMOMO, NFT creative agency that just organized an NFT exhibition in South Korea. And we have Kyle, media art curator, who is also one of the co-creator of today's screening program. And we have Vvzela Kook, artist, who also participate in today's screening. So to start with, non-fungible token NFT has become the new buzzword in the art world. The usage of blockchain technology seems relate closely to born digital art, such as illustration, GIF, and video art. Like some of the artwork we shown today has been tokenized. So the first question I'd like to ask is why NFT can be so many things? Do you see NFT itself as a new medium or simply a technology that can be applied to existing digital art? Scott, will you start first?
Yeah, hi. My name is Scott Fuzion. I'm the co-founder of NUMOMO creative NFT agency. We're helping artists and companies capture more value from their tokens, from their artworks with token technology. NFT itself as a new medium or simply a technology that can be applied to existing digital artworks. I see it as new technology where digital artists are diving deeper into their creativity to kind of explore how they can now capture their own expressions and their own identity, because there is a way to create a unique digital artwork on the blockchain. And this provides them with a way to now distribute it to not just a local audience, but a global collector base as well. How about you, Reena? What are you thinking?
So I don't necessarily think of NFTs as artworks or art media or techniques. They're basically certificates of authenticity that can be associated with any kind of object, digital or physical, mostly digital. So I definitely see it as something that can be applied to existing digital art, which we have to remember has been in existence and exhibited and evolving for decades now. Also, from what I've observed this past half a year, NFT is currently more a financial and PR tool. And in order to fully understand what I mean about this, we have to take into consideration the various issues surrounding NFTs, which I'm sure we will talk about later throughout this discussion, both in the way it complements and worsens existing issues in the art world and beyond. For one, we have to consider how it has become mired in the pandemic-induced boredom economy and the ongoing financialization of the art market over the past decade or so.
I think it's interesting, like Scott mentioned, that the word identity. And I wonder if NFT is supposed to be like to be seen as an identity, or as it's supposed to be more like an identifier, and kind of reflecting to on what Reena just said, when it's a digital certificate. And I think it's important to acknowledge that NFT is not more than what it is. And from the, I can imagine, and I think Devi can elaborate more later, that NFT is something, I think it's going to disrupt or both to the artist's advantages and disadvantages, and give power to the artist, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to change an artist's practice kind of just overnight. or that even if there might be interest from galleries or like artists who work with commercial galleries, I think it's going to take some time until there be concrete changes observable in the art market.
Yeah, what do you think, Vivi?
I think what I want to say is already like included in Reena and Kyle, like all the previous talkers, and yeah, that's a starting question. Maybe
Yes.
okay, go on.
So when talking about like showing and exhibiting NFTs, Reena and Scott, while NFT are facilitating the sales of artworks in digital format, what do you think, how would this technology would potentially change the way to exhibit artworks? Who would like to go first?
Yeah, I can start. So we just had a NFT exhibition here in Seoul, South Korea, 2 weeks ago. The challenge was trying to display the NFT and the digital artwork in a way that guests, when they came, they understood that what they were actually looking at the exhibition was not the NFTs. They were looking at the artworks. Many people are now combining both digital artworks and NFTs, and they're thinking they are the same, which they are not, as Reena pointed out. They are just digital certificates. The challenge for us was to create not just a exhibition with digital frames that were showing digital artworks, because that, as Reena said, has been happening for decades. What the challenge was for us was to start introducing the idea that the digital certificates can live on the blockchain in a global space on the internet, and the physical artworks themselves, as in the digital frames that were displaying the artworks, those were localized to the experience. And so separating that, separating the visual experience that guests had at our exhibition, and then getting them to understand that the NFT itself is not actually the digital artwork. The NFT itself is just that digital certificate that authenticates, verifies, and creates that unique code where you can now track it and trade it on the blockchain.
Then I was, even though my earlier point, I was saying, right, that's the digital certificates as an identifier, and then that's the artwork. That was my earlier point. But now that you're talking about exhibiting, I think there's another angle. I think we can actually kind of put the two things together. One of the points, I think, when Angel and I were talking about curating this screening program, was that we wanted to bring out a point that, like, in the variety of digital materiality we just saw in the 4 works, they represent, or that they embody, very different in very different ways, the physicality or the materiality in the works themselves. And when the kind of I think the digital materiality in these works are so different, when these works, or if these works, as in Vivi decided not to mint an NFT with this work, I think when these works are attached to an NFT with its own unique identifier, then I think in the process of contextualizing the digital materiality in these works, I think that should mean different things for different works. Just for example, in Peter's works or in Vivi's works, like there's a lot of virtual landscape, virtual sculptures, that kind of visuals that we look at in the works. But then in that's kind of one extreme, but in another extreme, like you would see in Isaac's works, like that's the it's a video, it's almost like a video documentation of a performance, even though it was actually displayed in almost like a video installation kind of format. The kind of materiality, I think, in Isaac's works like it's vastly different than compared to the other works. And I think when there's an NFT attached to these works, they should mean different things to each other. Again, like we can go into more the implications of how they are different, but I think it's important to acknowledge that they should mean different things to these different works.
Yes, just a sign up for the NFT that created for the video shown today. For example, for Isaac, he clips like different face from the crowd that shouting like in his work to like, I think he's created like 10 videos, like short clips as NFT, but instead for Chenkaku, she make different GIF, sort of like a memes to as an NFT. So actually for artists, even at the very beginning, they work with like video as a medium, but for NFT, they opt to use different way or different medium as NFT that should the most of their content.
I'm not as specific as Kyle, but because I've been looking at maybe more hybrid approaches pushing out. I'm seeing a lot more hybrid approaches in the sense that there are a lot more exhibitions being pushed out in both physical and digital spaces at the same time. I know Koenig Gallery in Berlin did a version of this, but also in Denver in February and March, the Grassroots Art Cooperative IRL Art worked with the curator Rob Gray to shoot an exhibition at the Art Place, a physical location in Denver, featuring over 30 Black artists. And the show is also on display on crypto tools with artworks on Unique One. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge that there is a long history of digital art being shown in galleries such as New York's Postmasters or even museums. So I don't think anything has really changed in the way digital art is being displayed, such as on screens or projections. One of the artists I interviewed for a piece for the art newspaper, which I wrote recently, actually talked a bit about this. And he said the only shift that is occurring is in the financial infrastructure on processing payments through blockchain to purchase NFTs. Even Tina Ryan's River, she's a media art historian, in her recent art review piece, she said that we've had artists like, I don't know if I'm pronouncing their names right, but we have artists such as Olie Lealina and Raphael Rosendahl, who for years have pioneered selling digital artworks using only a regular contract and fiat. So the change is there. Just something to think about.
And then one thing to add is when I do think that there is at least the start of something new with exhibiting and displaying digital artworks and now NFTs. There are blockchain worlds called metaverses or VR worlds. For example, CryptoVoxels, Decentraland. These worlds are places where you can actually go and buy VR land. On this land, a lot of the collectors and owners are actually building within it art galleries. And so at our exhibition, we had our physical location in Seoul, but then we partnered with Zardoz Club, which is another art gallery within CryptoVoxels. They selected pieces from our exhibition to then display. We then set up a Oculus and had people enter into the VR world so they could actually experience kind of what the metaverse is. And within that world, they can actually look at the artworks. They could actually purchase the artworks as well. And so being able to frame the exhibition as in you are not just here in a physical space, but you yourself can transcend it into a digital realm as well and be taken into a whole new gallery type experience. I think it's starting to get more and more creative. Is it super popular now? No, but I believe as technology gets better, as we get more versed within the VR and blockchain kind of worlds and metaverses, I think that there will be a trend towards experiencing a lot of the digital artworks in actually a purely digital space rather than also in a physical space. So just wanted to add that.
Yes, so do you think that physical dissemination like today's screening is still irreplaceable, or actually eventually will be replaced by digital viewing method like website or like VLAN or like different devices?
My thinking is that I don't think any medium, any material like so far is replaceable. I mean, as an artist, I work on like videos we saw and installations and research and drawings, and I choose this medium for I found it's the best medium to express an idea. And when I think about, when I like try to imagine a project in a digital form or a exhibition space in reality, I think it differently. And definitely there are like a different level, a different aspect of sensory satisfaction when you actually walk into a physical exhibition situation or browsing digital content on your website. And I think definitely there are like advantage and disadvantage and things they can do and cannot do for each medium. And it's very true for the virtual and reality exhibition spaces. So like so far it is not a substitution to each other, but like what Scott just mentioned, like if the technology allows us to experience a like virtual situation like what those sci-fi movies or games describe, that we could like wear a kind of suit that can that can like how to say, like reach a kind of like physical sensation in different levels. That's another story, but yeah.
It's more like an expansion of what possible to show artworks rather than a substitution of what we have today.
Yes, it's another platform. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, as Reena just mentioned, NFT actually is more like a financial infrastructure rather than another art form. So I have a question for Scott, because NUMOMO has been helping artists to understand NFT, but also helping them to mint their artworks as NFT. Do you think NFT will be a game changer for digital artists to develop their career, and why?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So do we think that NFTs will be a game changer for digital artists? Simple answer is yes. I believe that digital artists will now be able to create artworks, digital artworks, in a way that they could not create them and distribute them to kind of a global collector base. For example, one of our artists, Vvzela or Arclight, we helped him create 3 pieces that we put up on a NFT website called Known Origin. He is from Nigeria. Nigeria itself is not very conducive to a lot of young artists and entrepreneurs. The artworks that he was creating was a commentary on kind of being censorship resistant for his life. And in the kind of Nigerian landscape for young artists, it is very difficult for them to have a level playing field where they're able to reach some of the better galleries around the world. So the alternative is for him to now have this kind of NFT experience where he can create his digital artworks, find global collectors, and also connect with agencies from around the world to give him a different kind of economic opportunities that he did not have before without NFTs.
I see. And Reena, what do you think is NFT, because there are sort of like a haze or hype for NFT right now in the art world, especially among the young artists. Do you think NFT is as promising as it seems in terms of financing the artists?
So, I mean, yeah, like you said, we've all seen the headlines about artists such as Brooklyn-based Blake Jamieson making $46,000 in just 6 weeks from his minted works, But most of these artists already have an established following. In Jamieson's case, he's a successful artist known for his vibrant paintings and has a clientele of professional athletes, including former NFL running back CJ Anderson. And then at the same time, you look at former Turner Prize nominee Mark Titchener. He is one of 10 artists who participated in a weekly drop of unique NFTs on Super Rare in collaboration with another entity. So Titchener's animated digital poster, We Only Need Desire, sold for 6,343, underlining how not all artists, especially traditional artists, make a hyper-profitable transition into the world of NFTs. And then there's also the issue of barriers of entry in terms of knowledge required to operate in the cryptoverse and sell art on blockchain. When I interviewed Annie Phillips, the art director for IRL Art, she shared that most of the artists she worked with for her exhibition had never set up a cryptocurrency wallet before. So for many, whatever they are earning for participating in the exhibition was their first crypto asset. But in her case, she was able to provide them a supportive environment to learn, ask questions, and be resourced. So the first couple of tokenized artworks gas fees were offset. But we don't know if this is the case for most artists. In fact, most NFTs sold so far on and that have been listed on platforms like Super Rare and Foundation are by individual artists without gallery representation, which shows that many artists hope to use the technology to circumvent the traditional art market altogether. Anuradha Vikram pointed out in an Art News piece that for artists, the true significance of this developing technology is in its potential to make the back-end business of studio inventory, museum loan agreements, and gallery sales contracts more transparent and more fully within their capacity to control. The issue here is that artists turning to NFTs for alternative to gallery-based art sales will find that lack of regulation and unclear ownership of intellectual property in the traditional art market are problems that the blockchain exacerbates rather than eliminates.
I see. Thank you, Reena. And Vivi, I know you have been doing some research on NFT and decentralization, and eventually you have decided not to tokenize your work at this occasion.
Yes.
So what do you think about this trend of NFT?
Well, I would say it's a personal decision. I don't know whether it's a trend or whatever, but anyway, I will explain my like the reason why I made this decision. The first one, of course, is the carbon footprint of NFT, of every NFT action, and it's like it's been widely discussed, and the material of the article is very easy to find, so I will skip the details about it. And this is actually the first information I got to, for me to give me a little bit hesitation. Like before that, I was like, why not? This is give it a try. But later I was like, maybe I should research more material. I want to know exactly how much carbon footprints of every action. And later I found what I interested in was the kind of collision between the centralization and decentralization. When I was researching the NFT and Bitcoin, I was so interested in the word decentralization. Sorry, and I found that a lot of news, a lot of situations in the world right now, it's minor. Well, it's not minor at all. It's like a collision between the decentralization and centralization. For example, I have a news from China on the 18th May, Tuesday. This news is from Reuters. Banned its first its financial institutions and payment companies from offering any services involving Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, including registrations, trading, clearing, and settlement. And 3 Chinese industry bodies, the National Internet Finance Association of China, the China Banking Association, and the Payment and Clearing Association of China. And they think that virtual currencies are not supported by real value and railed against what they call speculative trading that seriously infringing the safety of people's property and disrupting the normal economic and financial order. And this is, well, if you try to realize a decentralized cryptocurrency or other services around it, but this kind of action is actually not allowed by by a centralized reaction, what we could do. And another example is that when we are trying to realize decentralized communications via internet and cryptography to realize the people's communication without censorship and surveillance, it's very easy to find like the centralized reality is trying so hard to fight against this. So for me, we actually need a decentralized reality to process all the decentralized virtual applications to make everything work, because like Reena just said, it's let me find this, it's like financial structure instead of like only a tokenized of an artwork.
I think that's a really good point that could be generated from the examples that Vivi just brought up, and also a lot of these examples Reena mentioned, that the different parties in the conventional power structure in the art world are still very present. And even with the emergence in the last like decade or so, with like blockchain or NFTs, that is an additional to it. I think like it's maybe I would consider it as a bit of an overstatement calling it a game changer, or perhaps it really is, but maybe in like terms of centuries, that could be a really game changer for artists. But then, like I said, the conventional, the different parties in the conventional power structure, be it like political influence, be it like commercial galleries or auction houses, it's very present, and we can see it in a lot of the examples of the high-profile sales that make it to the news, to international news. But I think it'd be a really interesting point for Scott to kind of give us a response, referring back to what Phoebe just brought up, the environmental concern. As a NFT agency, what is your stand? Where do you stand on this issue?
Thanks. Thanks, Kyle and Vivi. For the environmental issues concerning NFTs, there is research on both sides. I believe personally it should be addressed as a collective, but I also understand that creating an NFT, the energy consumption that some research and platforms have depicted, I think it is not an accurate depiction of where the energy is actually being used. For example, a lot more energy is being used for the creation of the blocks through transactions that are not just for NFTs. But then I also think that there is a really interesting kind of counter argument in saying, what is the energy consumption of creating physical artworks? Is it similar, different? I don't think there are any particular studies. There's a few that claim to have done a bunch of research and data on both sides. But being able to measure how much energy and fossil fuel is being used to create an NFT versus creating like an oil painting, I don't see that as being a big enough issue or concern to stop an artist from using the technology to create an NFT. I do understand that as a global kind of art space and community, we should try to minimize our carbon footprint as much as possible. And there are a lot of NFT artists that are doing that by working with carbon conscious companies, giving back some of their sales to these carbon companies to do more research, to understand the actual global impact that is occurring when I am actually uploading my artwork to an NFT website. The miners somewhere around the world, right, because of the blockchain, are processing this transaction and then producing one NFT. Again, the amount of energy that I think is being consumed is very minimal, in a way that it is less than what physical artworks and physical kind of space is producing. I guess that's my answer.
Thank you, Scott. So as Kyle mentioned, like the traditional power structure in the artwork is still very present right now. Actually, it leads to my final question. Do you think the role of like artist, curator, critic, agent, and even art organizer like Videotage change under the context of NFT, or like for art practitioners, nothing changed? Or do you think there will be changes because the rise of NFT? Anyone want to start first?
I can see how the deal, let's say Videotage would have to make with artists for exhibitions or like future exhibitions or the screenings, working with artists who have artworks with NFTs. I can see that there might need to be that will require new standards. Just then, as in a hypothetical scenario, I can think of, say, a in the traditional sense, for an 18th century painting, when you put that in an exhibition and it's a replica, you would need to kind of put it in the caption. You say like, this is a replica of this painting. Putting that scenario into the NFT conversation, I wonder, when we do an exhibition or a screening, when we're screening a work that is supposedly a perfect replica of a digital work, but then that's not the one that's got the NFT. That particular file is not, pointing that particular file doesn't have the NFT. How do we? I mean, I think it's kind of a responsibility as the organizer of the exhibitions or an event, letting people know, right, this is supposedly the replica, in whatever sense. I'm very curious, kind of the future standards of organizing art events and exhibitions, like what it will be like.
Anyone want to respond?
Yeah, I can go. So I think that there will be change in all these roles, but not just because of NFT alone. Because to me, there is, as far as I can see right now, and a lot of people talked about this as well, there is a technological revolution that the art world is currently experiencing, induced by the pandemic and the fourth industrial revolution. So all our roles will change drastically, for better or for worse, but not just because of NFTs, because NFTs is just a branch in the forest of change that is happening to us right now. So when we explore the melding of art and tech, digital and physical, especially given the storied evolution of digital art and the different ways in which higher fluency in digital media makes larger audiences accessible, and will definitely, by exploring all these things, will definitely level these roles up and transform them in highly impactful ways. However, however, if and when we choose to ignore the inherent flaws of NFTs and the larger tech world, or its financialized mindset, by ignoring these aspects could be destructive, because these qualities or flaws tend to resonate with inherent weaknesses in the art system. In fact, in her 2016 essay on art and blockchain, Hito Steyl did say that the internet spawned Uber and Amazon, not the Paris Commune. And one of the issues that needs to be looked at, especially right now and in the years ahead, is that the lack of diversity in both the art and tech worlds is something that we really need to look at. So there was even a recent art newspaper article that mentioned how it took 300 years for the art world to recognize female Baroque artist Artemisia. And now it seems like NFTs are reinforcing this bias towards Western male artists, and that the latest digital craze is only perpetuating the structural sexism inherent in art history. So this is also something to think about.
Thank you, Reena.
When I was researching in all this stuff, I kind of take my role as researching it as not as a platform, like whether I should be involved in as an artist, but as an artist to research on to research it as a work. Like if you, like Kyle and Ninja, if you know about my work, is like I'm researching this as if I'm researching the Grand Voyage, as if I'm researching a political incident. So in terms of change to the individuals, like artists, like curators and institutions, I'm very much looking forward to see a change. Those people are not like unbanked. Those people are unbanked and undocumented in, like, for example, Scott mentioned Nigeria and those countries. And to realize this kind of like decentralized lifestyle as a whole, is kind of like revolutionary to me. Like if this only happened to artwork, is well, we were discussing this like back in my studio with Kyle, like this, well, to us is not revolutionary enough. And I still think, of course, this technology has a very long way to go, and not only the technology itself, but also like cryptocurrency as a convincing currency, because a convincing currency doesn't fluctuate based on a social media post, based on a Kim Kardashian like post on whatever on YouTube, right? So yeah.
And Scott, what do you think?
In the coming future, my co-founder and I, Dr. Ralph Halfer, we came up with this idea that for creators to excel, looking at it from a NUMOMO lens as a creative agency, for creators to excel, we as kind of Web3 practitioners should embrace kind of three roles, right? We are embracing the creator role, the collector role, and the critic role. The creator role itself is producing either artworks, producing writing, for example, producing an event. And then the collector role is where you yourself have a taste. You yourself are curating a list of artworks or curating your own identity in providing that to an audience. And then the last role here is the critic role. The critic role itself gives meaning and defining purpose into what you are actually creating and what you are actually collecting and why you are doing these things. I think if we look at it through kind of these three C's, or we call it the like NUMOMO trifecta, if people are able to embrace this idea where they are no longer just one, but they are actually all three. And in order to be a successful kind of living within Web3 and producing a digital career, that will have longevity. Having the ability to kind of wear all of these hats in a way that is going to help you build a community that will then want to work with you, that will then want whatever you are producing in a way that gives you the ability and opportunities that you could not have without it. And so I think as for Videotage, for yourself, being like transforming into a new kind of online digital curator / exhibitionist / art consultant, this idea where you are no longer defined by just one role, because we ourselves, we do social media, we're writing, we're creating, we're actually participating in all three roles, whether or not we are being labeled as just an artist or just a consultant or just an art gallery or just an art agency. I think that having a global perspective and having the ability to reach a global audience now gives us more power, gives us a chance to have more control over what we ourselves are producing into the world. So I think that's what I foresee in the future. We ourselves are trying to practice this as well by helping artists, by collecting art, by writing art critiques on the artists that we are helping produce and the artworks that we collect in a way that shows that we ourselves want to be part of kind of this new digital renaissance and have a stake in the game and stand for something rather than not.
Thank you, Scott. So actually, I can talk a little bit about the experience of organize this this screening and the talk. Actually, I realized that NFT make artists more proactive in like selling or promoting their work. And as you said, actually it incorporate with more roles for the artists. For example, they can promote, or they would need to promote their artwork on social media. And so the role of art organizer actually changed a bit from like we decide to present some artists, we introduce the artists to the audience, and we shift to the role that become a collaborator with the artists that help them to gain more exposure and help people find their artwork among the sea of NFT. And actually, I like from organizing this programs, I did this change of role. And other thing I noticed is that NFT actually require quite some technical knowledge about blockchain. Like they have to open a cryptocurrency wallet and they need to learn how to use different NFT platform, and some of them are quite really complicated. So for artists, actually, if they want to manage it themselves, they would need to be their own technician, or they need to partner with a technician or like an agency to make it happen for them. So this is just some observations as an organizer for this event. We are overrunning, but I think we can take maybe some questions from the audience. So now I will open the floor to the audience here and audience online. Do anyone have any questions? Just speak louder.
Okay, I'll shout my voice towards the computer. So on this, I'm always a little perplexed on this carbon footprint argument, because if you look at a graph on what consumes a lot of electricity, the banking system is like this, gold mining is like this, computer gaming is like this, cryptocurrencies are very small. Then if we move to, say, Bitcoin, once you've minted 21 million coins, Bitcoin's over, we have a reserve that then just gets split up into Satoshis or whatever. So then the carbon mining is done, and then it's simply transactions. And gold mining still gets, we pour cyanide into rivers and all of these things. So we have this. And then at the same time, plenty of the currencies we're actually using for NFTs, like Ethereum, have already announced that they're going to switch from GPU mining to, I think it's called something like a share of ledger or proof of stake, right? Which reduces their energy consumption by like 99%. So I'm always amazed that this argument still comes around. I mean, how can do we say, I'm going to take all of my money out of the bank because the banking system uses a lot of electricity? No, these things have to use electricity because that's the way the world works. You can't simply just withdraw your entire life from consuming power because, I mean, as Vivi and I will both know, we both make animations, and to render an animation uses up a lot of GPU, a lot of electricity. So I find this argument a quite bizarre distraction that what do we think our lives are if not consuming power by everything? So why focus on this particular aspect? I was wondering if any of the panelists have any opinion on why this argument has become so dominant when empirically it's, I think, far smaller than the kind of internet space that this conversation repeatedly occupies.
Yes. Can you hear the question, or I can, yes, like type in the
Yeah,
question?
no, I mean, I'll just echo the sentiment. I didn't want to dive deeper into the ecological impact of NFTs because that's not what I thought this talk is about. But I definitely agree with the gentleman that posed this argument. I think it's a narrative that is being used for people who do not fully understand what the technology is offering to people who are using it. I think there's an inherent kind of friction or inherent block in us as humans when there's something new and we don't understand it, to then find the easiest narrative to then say, oh, that's wrong, or oh, this is not right, or this should, we don't know what's going on, so it should just be bad. For me, that's kind of what I've seen on social media, mostly from a lot of the critics who are saying NFTs, blockchain are a detriment to society, and it is now the reason global warming is happening, which is, of course, not true. That is something that has been happening, prolonged over the last few decades. So I definitely believe that is just a narrative that many people are using to try to alleviate their own confusion from what is being able, from what this new technology is offering to artists and collectors. Reena, do you have any opinions here?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I guess I understand the implications being put forth across. I hate the both sidism of this, but I understand what both sides are trying to say and trying to mitigate when it comes to the whole environmental implications of crypto and NFT and Bitcoin mining and all those various aspects of it. But at the same time, I do feel that it has become a bit of a straw man argument between the traditional art world and the tech and cryptoverse and the crypto scene, in the sense that that they use this as kind of a batting distraction, from the other issues and the other things that need to be focused on in terms of this developing technology. It's not that it's not important to debate and discuss it and figure out what the implications really are. It is, but it just feels like it's a lot more of currently it's becoming a lot more of a white noise machine rather than anybody looking at the actual issues of it. So that's my take.
I think my take on this, actually, I think it's never, and I think this is actually, I don't think we disagree on this. I think it's never productive to say anything that's just definitely really bad or something that's definitely really good. And I do agree actually for people who might not be familiar with the nature of NFTs, like there would be a lot of this kind of white noise influencing the conversation to the extent that this probably shouldn't be the focus. But I think that this one sweet spot that I think we would agree on is that like climate change is a serious problem, and it's a problem that is worth our concern, and that if we discuss and actually it's a personal perspective in this sense, like if we discuss anything, I think there should be a room enough to also put this environmental concern on any discussion. But then I think part of this sweet spot that I think we can agree on is that addressing climate change, in this case, the NFT conversation, should be looked at from a broader perspective. Like Peter was saying, the environmental concerns for NFT is like this much, and then there are like in other industry or other like in the conversation of cryptocurrency in the other banking system, it's this much, and then when we kind of take a step back and look at actual data on the environmental impact in any activities, I think that we should be tackling this problem in this scale, and I think we can have this kind of conversation at the same time looking at the advantages of NFT in itself.
Yes, we've got a remark from online. Wrong Yaki, sorry if I pronounce it wrong. Wrong Yaki said, we need to remember that energy is being expended to create the money, not to create the artwork. So I think we have time for one more question. Yes, we have another gentleman here who has the question. Sorry, you need to speak loudly. Yes, if they cannot hear you, I can repeat the question.
Sure. So I'll do my best to speak loudly, and I'll also do my best to try and understand or try and put together NFTs as best as I understand them, because I am not an expert, so I'm asking you guys. But it's sort of a few-part question, and I think the first part is for Kyle. Is this, so everything we're seeing here tonight, or this morning actually, has an NFT, right?
3 out of 4. 3 out of 4
have the NFT.
There was a decision out of these works
that
she decided not to.
And then as you mentioned, we're watching a reproduction of the original, right? So the NFT is associated with the original piece of artwork.
Yes, it is not exactly the video, because now NFT, for example, we are using OpenSea. Many of the artists are using OpenSea, and there is a size limit of the file. So in this case, in our screening today, actually most of the artwork are split into like short video of a few seconds or GIF.
But the NFT, which is the ledger, right? So again, sorry for not understanding completely. I'm just trying to get my head around it. The NFT itself is the ledger, not the artwork. And it's associated with one specific digital piece of artwork, right?
Yes.
Yeah. For us as audience members, right, sitting here watching this, right? So the ledger itself is has an ownership. It represents who actually owns the work originally by the artist, sold to one owner, next owner, next owner, next owner, correct? So for us as an audience member, right, with the 3 works that do have an NFT, what is sort of, and this is the greater question, is what is sort of the benefit? Do we get to know, right? Does it have an NFT? Should we be knowing that for each screening, each gallery event? Should we be knowing that the owner is the one that they're working? I mean, I'm assuming in most cases that's the case, otherwise it's illegal, right? But is there a benefit for us to understand that NFT relationship, or Is it more important for us to just accept the artwork as it is?
Can you hear the questions or I can repeat it? Okay, great. Kyle.
I think I touched on that point a little bit when I brought up the hypothetical scenario with a traditional painting that's the replica. Then we would it's kind of a responsibility for us to let the audience know that this is not the original work. This is the replica, and I think that's kind of why it with the screening program situated in this situation. That's why I think it's brought up interesting discussion, especially actually now that we ended up having one of the 4 works actually not minted with an NFT. How do we know? I think that's why I don't know what the standard should be at the moment. But then I think there needs to be a new standard to address your concern. I think another interesting point brought up with in the last decades in media history, the point that digital material can be replicated relatively easily, that has been an advantage. We normally, especially when I work in mostly non-profit exhibitions and with non-profit organizations, that normally is the advantage for us, that I get to screen a work or exhibit a digital work from people all around the world with internet access, that I don't have to worry about shipping, I don't have to worry about insurance. That normally is considered an advantage. With the conversation of NFT, that seemed to become a problem that needs this NFT solution. So I think this is another angle to be that for us to look at, like that, how like the NFT in itself in a scenario for us, like Videotage as a non-profit media organization, we work with materials that are minted with an NFT. What are the implications for us? Like what are the disadvantages and challenges and opportunities for us? I think these are requires new wave of thinking for us. But then again, going back to my point earlier, I don't think there's any immediate challenges for us. That and more that actually as a local media organization in Hong Kong, this is the sort of experiments we're doing. And this is the sort of experiments I hope this screening or this discussion will provide points of reference for the future.
Actually, our time is running short. Do anyone want to respond to that questions? Or no, so thank you so much for the audience for being here, and also the online audience, especially great thank you to Reena, Scott, Kyle, and Phoebe for being the panelists of this discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And the wonderful questions.
And the wonderful questions. Actually, for the NFT, we would display the QR code with this laptop, or like for the pre-registered guests, we will send you the QR code and the information of the artworks. You can go to Videotage, like Facebook or Instagram. You will find more information there. Our Instagram is Videotage_HK, and Facebook is simply Videotage. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.